So, you want to buy a home in Petaluma or Sonoma County or out of state, but you have a house to sell first. How do you make that happen? What are your options and what is best for you? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Karen Prestegard with eXp Realty of California. Buying and selling are two separate transactions, but they often have to happen at the same time, and it can get overwhelming and confusing. Many of you reach out, let me know you've done your research and are ready to make the move, but you're worried about selling your home first and buying out of state or staying in Petaluma in Sonoma County, especially with our market not being very conducive to contingent offers. The good news is there are several options to buy and sell your home at the same time, so you can make the move to Idaho, Arizona, Texas, Sonoma County. Locally, we are facing the same concern with how to buy a home without a contingent offer. So I will be talking about the 5 ways to do that, pros and cons of each, and the risks and benefits of each, so you can figure out what might be the best for you. So the main problem we're trying to solve is that in order to make a down payment or even pay cash, you need the money and equity out of your current home to purchase the next home. And ideally, you would do so with the least risk to you, and the least risk to you means more risk for the seller. And in the seller's market, that's not great for getting your offer accepted. So we want to keep those things in mind as we go over the options. Number 1, the old standby, making the sale contingent on your selling your current house. So several years ago, this was a tried and true method of buying and selling a home at the same time. So you found a house you liked. You made an offer contingent on selling your current house. You put your current house on the market, and then you close on both houses at the same time or very close to each other. This is the lowest risk. This is the highest risk offer to the seller and lowest cost to you, as there aren't any additional risks or additional loan fees, and you get to find your new home first. This is the highest risk to the seller, as it may take you a week or 2 to get your home ready to sell, a week or 2 to get an offer, and then if that offer happens to fall apart through the sellers, they're back in square one. They lost time on the market and usually lost some value in the home as well. And our current market here in Petaluma, a contingent offer is incredibly hard to get accepted, if not impossible, even if the seller doesn't have currently multiple offers. They know they will receive a strong non-contingent offer if they just wait a bit more. So there's not much incentive for them to accept a contingent offer. But there are some exceptions in the off chance you find a home that has been on the market for a few weeks and the sellers are motivated. Possibly they might accept a contingent offer. Occasionally builders on new construction will accept contingent offers, especially if the new home won't be completed for several months. And in that situation, expect that the builder will have parameters and timelines on when you need to have your house sold, and that may include having it sold before you can move into the new house. So we'll talk about that for a bit. But if you absolutely must make a contingent offer, you must do whatever you can to eliminate risks to the seller, which puts you in more risk. And you need to offer something so great that they would rather wait for your house to sell than to accept a non-contingent offer. Now, it's very rare to accept a contingent offer over a non-contingent one. And even in this crazy market, and here's how it worked. That contingent offer was high, $50,000 higher than the non-contingent offer. The contingent offer waived the appraisal fee. They agreed in writing they would have their house on the market in a week. And if they didn't have an offer in 2 weeks on their house, then they would agree to forfeit the earnest money deposit. So the sellers thought that earning the extra $50,000 would be worth the risk of the 2-week wait to see if the other house sold. Because if it didn't sell, the sellers got to keep the earnest money, and that risk to the buyer was pretty big. What if they didn't sell their house in 2 weeks? They would have been out approximately $15,000 in earnest money and the cost of the home inspection. They were confident they would get an offer, and actually I was familiar with that neighborhood that they were coming from, so the sellers were more comfortable knowing that they're selling in a highly desirable area. So if you're making a contingent offer, be prepared to put things into the contract to pay more money and put yourself at risk financially. In some ways, you're still going to have a very hard time getting the offer accepted. However, you do lessen your risk of having to pay for different financing options or finding interim housing. And of course, the closer you are to have your contingency lifted or house sold, the more likely the seller is to accept your contingency. For example, I had contingent offers accepted when they were only about a week away from closing on the house that they were selling. But how does that work? They obviously would need a place to stay, as the next closing would be for 30 days at least. So that leads us to number two. Number two, selling your home first and asking for a rent back time period. This is very common. So essentially, you list your home and disclose that you would like a 60 or 90-day rent back, or whatever is doable and common in your area. That way, you free up your money when you close, and you can make an offer non-contingent and not have to find interim housing. Sellers of the home see that you're making a non-contingent offer, or as I alluded to before, you can make an offer when your current home is very close to closing, and many sellers are okay with that. And then you have a place to live while you wait for your new house to close. The biggest risk to you in this situation is that giving yourself the time frame in which you need to find a new house in Petaluma or another state. So you are waging that you will find that new home within 30 days or so and closing within another 30 days. With our inventory being so low right now, this can be a risk, as a home you like might come on the market in that time frame. It's better if you're looking for something that is more common, closer to our average price point, which right now for the Petaluma is inching towards over $800,000. And if you're willing to pay to live in an Airbnb, or maybe live with family in case the timing doesn't line up quite perfectly. Also, there's a risk when you list your house that you cut out buyers who don't want to give you a rent back time frame. But overall, this scenario has actually worked out quite well for many clients that have chosen the option of selling with a rent back. Alrighty, so how about number three? A second home loan. So remember how I mentioned that you were trying to solve the problem of getting money freed up for down payment and minimize finding interim housing? Well, what if you either have the money saved for a down payment, have it somewhere else? Now this takes careful qualifying from your lender. They'll basically have to approve you to carry both debts of both homes for a while. And you probably don't want to pay two mortgages, but it wouldn't be for long. There are two ways you can do this. First, you can use savings from elsewhere, but make sure you think twice before using it from a retirement account where you're going to get hit hard on taxes. But maybe you have 20% down in your savings. You can use that for your down payment to purchase the new home as a second home, and then sell your previous home when you're ready. And you can refinance it all with the proceeds from selling your other home. So this eliminates the risk of giving yourself that time frame to buy a home and of paying for interim housing. But as with all things that eliminate risk, it will cost you more money. A second home loan right now has gone up quite a bit. So until you refinance, you'll be at a higher interest rate. You'll also be paying closing costs on the second home loan and then closing costs again when you eventually refinance. So it can be very costly, but it may be worth it if you are worried about interim housing or being rushed to find the right house or setting for a home that you don't love, because you don't have this time limit on you. Second, and if you have enough equity, you can get a HELOC or home equity line of credit against your first home to make up your down payment on the next home. So this has to be done before you put up your house for sale, and it can take several weeks to fund, but then you can use the money like cash. But you have to begin repaying as soon as you use it, and then you get the second home loan. Third, and then similar to the second home loan, would be a product like a bridge loan. So that's where the lender uses the equity you have in your current home as collateral against you purchasing, and then you can make an offer non-contingent. It is only one loan, there's not a secondary financing with it, and you can purchase the second home as a primary residence, so you get a better rate. However, it is very expensive with fees, and if you don't sell your home as planned, you're stuck paying for the debt on both homes, and that is very costly. So obviously, for all of those options, you must be able to qualify for the debt of both homes or the homes and the HELOC, and feel that you'd rather pay the fees and rates instead of taking the risks of the other options. So what if you can't qualify for that much short-term debt? And then what do you do? Okay, number 4. I have also had many clients do this option. They take a giant leap of faith, sell their house first, and then seek a short-term rental or Airbnb or something of that nature. And then they take their time to find a house here and are able to make a non-contingent offer. So in this scenario, you save yourself the cost of the fees for a second home loan and such, but you do pay for rental, and rentals in Petaluma are in high demand and hard to come by. You'll pay much more for a short-term rental right now. You can expect upwards of $3,000 a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath short-term apartment. and upwards of $4,000 a month for a small short-term home. But you do have to pay to live somewhere anyways. So you're either paying your mortgage or pay your rent. It's not a total financial loss, but it is a few months of paying someone else's mortgage instead of your own. And number 5, for those of you who would pay cash if you could get the equity out of your house, that takes us back to the HELOC. If you have your home paid off or significant equity, you can get the HELOC. Again, if you have to find your home that costs under the amount of your HELOC, you can make a cash offer. So yes, you will have to pay your HELOC payment as soon as you use it, but it's usually interest only, and you would only make the payment until you get your other home sold. You also need to be aware of all of the fine detail for your HELOC. Clients have chosen this route, and it works well for those who want to pay cash without a contingent offer. Of course, there are more ins and outs to all these options, and there's more variations within them. They'll take some counseling between your whole real estate team, which should include your listing agent, the lender team, and your buyer's agents. So you can find out which options you qualify for and then decide which options are best for you. So as you can tell, the less risk to you, the higher the financial costs, and overall you really want to try to find a good balance of risk to you, but lessening that risk to the sellers. Selling a home and making a big move takes sacrifice and determination, but it's worth it. Eventually, and hopefully sooner than later, education and preparation are key to a successful experience, and my team are here to help you gain as we prepare to buy and sell your home.